What is up, down and sideways, all you beautiful individuals? Welcome to another episode of League on Block. My name is Eric, and boy, oh boy, we got a bit of a doozy on the docket for you guys today. Not only do we have Worlds qualification matches, but we got some spicy off-season drama and just legal drama across multiple regions that both I did not see coming, and maybe even more complicated than we initially think. But we'll get to those eventually. We've got to start with that Worlds qualifying action. Dplus Kia matching up against T1, and of course we know the story heading into this one. T1 had already 3-0'd Dplus in the playoffs. Dplus hasn't even beaten T1 in a best-of series since 2021. I believe it was 7 series in a row they had lost to them. Obviously, winner going on to get that 3rd seed at the World Championship, and maybe not the highest quality of gameplay, especially for two teams where our standard is a little bit higher than a lot of others. We're expecting some world-class gameplay and maybe didn't quite get it in this one. The story of the series was T1 dealing with Ziggs yet again, but we did get to the 5th game, Silver Scrapes, in this one, and there was no Ziggs. All we got was an absolute banger back and forth as we got the LeBlanc-Corky matchup for Faker and Showmaker throwing down, but this one was really mostly about some incredible engages out of Kingen on the Gnar and some pretty rock-solid positioning out of Aiming, who finally gets to play an actual AD carry to do some damage on this one. Instead of the poke from the Ziggs, he gets the MF and eventually is racking up 8+ kills. Lucid is confident on the Lilia. It's these extended fights where Dplus is, I hate to use the term, out-handsing T1 as they eventually just, okay, all of a sudden they get 4 kills, but T1 was still in the game, even being down a few K gold. But again, it's Moham going for some engages, T1 not being together as a collective unit, which is something we're so accustomed to seeing out of T1, always moving like they're connected on a string, being of one mind, but they just slowly, one by one, get picked off, and just like that, 30 minutes into the game, they don't need Hextech Soul, they don't even need a Baron, they just close out the game. Look at Guma's level at this point. He's 3 levels behind Aiming in this one. 17-14. Obviously, the boys Dplus super excited. Showmaker had mentioned earlier in the year he was worried. He couldn't even imagine a world where he wasn't qualifying for the World Championship. Well, you don't need to worry about it anymore, Mr. Showmaker, because you have delivered. You are going to the World Championship as that 3rd seed. Kingen gets to return. Lucid gets to make his debut at the World Championship. So, listen, Dplus earned it. They were down 2-1 in this series, and eventually, truthfully, that 4th game to even get there, it was really Showmaker clutching it on the Tristana to get a team fight, a chase down. Games 4 and 5, it was just extended chase downs that Dplus were able to close out and get back into this game. So kudos to them. Like, even though it was sloppy, maybe the macro game sense wasn't quite there for T1 and is hardly ever there for Dplus, but they get it done in that Game 4 and Game 5 to take the series, head to the Worlds as that 3rd seed, and now obviously the question marks really start to rise up for T1 because all of the issues, you've heard multiple people talk about it, they don't have a good read on the meta. Ziggs was definitely still an issue in this series, and it wasn't even T1 that banned it in Game 5, it was Dplus for whatever reason. They were banning it away from T1, who have looked completely lost when they used that pick, but the one way that macro was working well for Dplus is when they had Ziggs and Tristana, because it's pretty damn easy to be trading objectives when you have maybe the 2 fastest pushers and siegers in the entire game. So pick ban remains an issue for T1. Faker, unfortunately, yet again, outshined in that mid lane matchup, I think you would definitely be saying it was Showmaker that got the better of that head-to-head in this series on multiple different picks. The Corki, the LeBlanc, the Tristana. Didn't really matter. Faker had a few good engagements on the Yone, but still underwhelming compared to what we've seen from other players piloting that pick. Zeus had some standout Rumble performances, but it's just it's not turned on to that magic T1 playoff push. There's still so many question marks about them, whether it's what champion Guma is playing, Curious engages, Owner being out-jungled, outmatched, almost invisible in pretty much both sides of Maokai, Lilia, other different matchups, and this wasn't just in this series. This has been a trend in the Hanwha series and most of the series in the playoffs that we saw out of T1. So their Worlds run isn't dead yet. They're going to be playing that winner of BNK, FearX, and KT Rolster, which means, yes, we have the potential for not only a telecom war showdown for the final spot at the World Championship from the LCK, but you also have 3/5 of that DRX 2022 Miracle Run roster who, yes, they started 9-9 in the regular season. They had to run the full gauntlet to even qualify as that 4th seed. It's the exact same path, although this time it's against T1. It obviously was not against T1 in the past, and they still look shaky. Like obviously, if FearX somehow wins that series, that would be absolutely insane, but honestly, KT can beat T1. Like, this was by no means a world beater of a match where these two teams were at such a high quality that you can't see KT beating them. Really, what it does is you really believe Hanwha and Gen G are now 16 steps ahead of the rest of the LCK. So absolutely, you should be concerned about T1. I'm concerned about T1. There's too many things to even talk about when they have all the issues that they have, and it's, can you really just say, well, the meta will be different at Worlds and then they'll get things sorted out? Well, they've got to get to Worlds in this meta, and they still look completely uncomfortable with what the strongest picks are and not on the same page. They don't look like they're having the fun that we're accustomed to them seeing. Obviously, when you're losing, it's a lot less fun, as you can see with any team, any roster, but it's a quick turnaround, one day off before the Saturday showdown for that 4th seed at the LCK, and that is the final spot at the World Championship to be decided, and the scriptwriters really outdoing themselves by making it potentially, KT's got to take care of some business against FearX, but potentially a telecom war showdown for that 4th seed. And if T1 somehow doesn't make it, you know, whatever the world song is, whatever the world's teaser is, the entire theme, as always, is going to be based around T1 as the defending champs. If they don't make it, it's going to be a little bit awkward when they're airing all these teasers, all these hype-up videos, all these songs, and you're going, ooh, Faker and the boys are not even at the event. That's kind of happened in years past, but I got a feeling that that's what they're going to be doing this year, so it would be a bit of a disaster for fans, viewers, the numbers for the World Championship if T1 doesn't make it. But right now, they're not at a level that warrants them going to that World Championship. Now we get to a little bit of this offseason drama, and this is some serious drama we're talking about. This was getting dropped by Mr. I Will Dominate, and then Travis Gafford kind of talking about it as well. Obviously, we don't have any confirmation from any of the parties involved. We knew there was going to be some changes coming to this Cloud9 Super Team roster as they failed to qualify for the World Championship. But I did not have on the bingo card Jojopyun not only not being on the team, but just getting let go. Not sold off to other teams. No big buyouts coming in. Just cut from the roster. Fired, if you will. And that's, you can't just fire someone and terminate a contract because they're not playing at the level that you expected them to play out. That's not how it works. But apparently, again, according to I Will Dominate, tardiness had been a major concern for Jojopyun. He was late over 43 times for different scrim, team meetings, whatever events Cloud9's doing. 43 separate times. Obviously, any job in any industry, if you are late 43 times, it wouldn't even get to 43 times. You would have been fired about the 5th or 6th, 7th time you were late in a row. So it's absolutely insane that that's the case. We've had, listen, it became kind of a meme. It's funny, haha, Jojopyun in scrims, inting. Oh, he died 15 times, but he did the most damage on the team. Ha ha ha, good times, good times. But now you couple that with him being late all the time to things, and you're going, this is a level of professionalism that is unacceptable. You're being paid, and again, Blabber alluded to in one of his interviews that he's the highest paid guy in the LCS. I think he even said, by far, to quote a classic Forgiven line, if you're the highest paid guy on the team, you're inting in scrims, you're late 40 plus times. By the way, both Inspired and Vulcan, shout out to Reddit and Internet Detectives, finding these older tweets about Inspired and Vulcan kind of memeing about how Jojopyun is late to everything. So this might not even be a Cloud9 thing. He could have been doing this on EG back in the day, and now it's just finally caught up to him. But being late all the time, inting and scrims, like it's just disrespectful to your teammates at that point to be implicating their practice regimens. No wonder Berserker's punching walls and is upset with this team, because this dude is just not taking things seriously. If this does end up being the case, I truly hope this is a wake-up call for JoJo, because you combine this with the level that he was playing at in the summer split, and it was fine, serviceable, but this is the guy who's supposed to be the face of the entire league. Walk away, run away the best mid laner in the league, and that just hasn't been the case since he joined Cloud9. So you combine that with what he's doing off the Rift, and if people are hearing that he's not a great teammate, because I'm going to say inting and scrims and being late all the time means you're not a great teammate, this might have serious implications on him even finding a spot next year. I'm sure teams will take a chance on him, of course, because he still is a domestic talent and still can be one of the best players in the league. But this needs to be a wake-up call for him, and that he needs to take things more seriously. Yes, you're playing video games. Yes, what a chill job. But you still got to work as a professional if you want to be the very best. And we'll see next year if he proves that he wants to be. The added drama to this now, and this was Travis Gafford talking about this, is that Jojopyun's team might be suing Cloud9 on the out of this, saying you can't just cut his contract. You've got to at least give him some money for terminating it early. But I'm sure Cloud9, if they have been counting 43 different times he was late, I would assume that they have multiple means for early termination of that contract. There's no way they don't have clauses or certain things saying if you are hampering the team or not living up to the rules that we've set into place, then we can terminate your contract easily. You think Jack and Cloud9 don't have a team of lawyers looking over these contracts that they set for players? So I don't even know if this is true, if Jojopyun's agent or whatever legal team he has is actually going to be suing to try and get some of that money back his way. I think his contract was definitely through the rest of 2025. Might have been up in 2026. But it was still like at least a full year left on his contract that I'm sure if you're the highest paid player in the LCS is approaching that 7-figure number, if not already passing it. So I get that he wants to get the bag on his way out, but that's even a worse look if you're looking to go to another team afterwards and you get axed for being late, probably not taking scrims seriously, and then on the way out the door you say, hold up, let me sue you for that extra money. That's not going to rub a lot of teams the right way and really be itching to sign this guy, especially when he's not at an MVP level. So, unfortunately, this is not a good look for JoJo across the board. Again, we're assuming that this is all true. I don't really have any reason to question that it wouldn't be, but you can't fully confirm until either Cloud9, JoJo, somebody on the actual inside is the one breaking or talking about this, and that might not happen until after the World Championship. Who knows, when we start hearing about roster changes and that whole thing, or this might be one of those situations where it kind of just sits and we never hear the full details until someone retires or someone's no longer playing, and then we get the full Dunzo manifesto, whether it's from JoJo or somebody within the Cloud9 organization. But honestly, this could be a step even Cloud9 choosing, either somebody like Blabber, somebody specifically like Berserker, saying, listen, you're driving this guy insane, because I've seen multiple interviews with Berserker, even from the summer split, saying, oh, the craziest thing I've seen is Jojopyun going 0-15 in scrims, things like that. He references it multiple times. Even if it's in a jokey, kind of funny manner, there's no way that isn't weighing on him and the rest of the team. So we got to dive deeper into this. I need some more info on this drama. But this is absolutely a legit bombshell heading into the offseason. Not the fact that they're getting rid of JoJo, because I think we all thought that was maybe a possibility, because on the Rift, he underperformed. In terms of what you were expecting to get, an MVP level mid laner, underperformed, no question. But the fact that it's because of more off the Rift and team dynamic, team environment issues, that's the surprising part. Because JoJo so often seems like such a likable dude and a good teammate, but if you're being late 43 plus times, again, that's when they started keeping track of it. It could be closer to 60, 70, who knows? That's got to weigh on the teammates. They're just going to start resenting you if they have to wait an extra 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. I'm assuming if they're keeping track of this, it's not like this dude was 5 minutes late. If you're 40 minutes late or something to a team meeting continually, you're going to start getting pissed at this guy. You're going to be annoyed with him. You're going to sit there and resent him, and that can influence how you're playing in the game. If you're saying, I'm not giving this dude that extra wave, he's late all the time. There's no way that doesn't sit in the back of some of these players' mind, whether they're aware of it or not, or it's sitting there hovering around in the subconscious. But all in all, a terrible look for JoJo, and even if he probably will be on a team next year in the LCS, but it might not be those top-tier suitors that he's accustomed to being involved with over in the LCS. So obviously, we will absolutely be monitoring this as it continues to expand and evolve over the coming days and weeks. But absolutely a banger start to the offseason, and we don't even have all 20 Worlds teams qualified, and we're already getting that tasty offseason drama. Over in the LPL, it's not offseason, it's pre-Worlds drama, probably with some pretty insane implications. Now we're hearing that the world champion, multiple LPL MVP, face of the team, LNG Scout, may not be able to attend Worlds, may not to at least be there for the Swiss stage. And again, I alluded to legal troubles earlier on. Not just one, JoJo may be suing Cloud9, but EDG and Scout are in the midst of a lawsuit, and this is something we heard about as soon as he signed with LNG. He was signing a contract while he was still under contract with EDG, something complicated like that, but he's been involved in this legal battle for 2 years now since he's been on LNG, but apparently there was some clause or some part of this lawsuit that Scout cannot leave the country. He wanted to go on vacation in South Korea, go back home, and EDG saying, no, you can't leave because whatever reason, they're fearing that he's going to run away and avoid legal actions if he gets away from China. But basically, this ban is in place, and he wouldn't be able to go over to Europe for the World Championship to play for them. They don't even have a sub mid laner, and obviously he's one of, if not the most important player on this roster. This would be absolutely insane if he was unable to play, and apparently people from LNG have been saying, we're reaching out to EDG. All they have to do is lift this ban on him being able to leave, and he can go. But EDG is sitting there going, no, we don't want to lift this travel ban. We still want you to be held accountable. And that, I feel like they might let up, because there's going to be so much backlash from the LPL, and it's ravenous, sometimes incredibly toxic fan base to be going, you're within the LPL and you are denying one of our 4 teams at the World Championship, their best player, from participating in the biggest tournament of the year. If you have that Chinese pride, then let the man go and just deal with all this legal issue after the World Championship. I hope that's what ends up happening for EDG and LNG, but At the same time, I get the angle from EDG. They say, why should we give this guy any leniency? He kind of screwed us over, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't help that we've been terrible since Scout and the boys in that World Championship roster left us in 2023. So there's probably a tiny morsel of NaCl, aka salt, out of EDG towards Scout and that LNG roster. But come on, guys. You've got to unite. Brothers in arms, let the LPL do well at Worlds, because if Scout doesn't go, like, what do? I've seen people say emergency loan, bring rookie over. I mean, that would be amazing, but you're still bringing in a mid laner that hasn't played with the team for the entire year. Are you promoting an academy guy? I'm sure LNG is already in conversations. What do we do if Scout is unable to play? Are we promoting that young player? Are we going mercenary style and bringing over somebody like Rookie, somebody like Yagao, who you really wouldn't feel as great about? People were saying Do and B, but Do and B hasn't really been playing for this whole year. But there's no way LNG isn't throwing out feelers, seeing what exactly their options are going forward, because obviously losing Scout would be a massive blow to their chances at the World Championship. But it's just absolutely insane. Back-to-back days, basically within the same day. You have not one but two separate legal battles having huge implications on two of the biggest organizations in their respective leagues. Obviously, Cloud9 is at the tippity top within that of the LCS. LNG less so, but they're a Worlds representative, and their chances at Worlds now take a massive blow if Scout is unable to play for the squad. I think EDG and LNG will get something worked out where there's a pause in this travel ban for Scout. But let's be honest, they got like 2 weeks, 3 weeks basically to get this sorted out. And if Scout wants any, meaningful amount of time scrimming over in Europe where all the other teams are going to be, well, then this better get sorted out real soon, because I bet you LNG, if they haven't already, the rest of the team's probably already over in Europe getting ready to boot camp. So absolutely insane drama, and Worlds has not even started. But that is it today for League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thank you to all you wonderful people for the support as always.